Danny, Prem and I were discussing a little bit earlier about some comments being made that is IPL or this cricket going the way of football. And I was trying to pick Prem's brains on it of how does it, because there are set pieces now by big teams and how they're preparing for it. Prem, you want to take that question further? It's an interesting one to
Yeah,
ask
I
Danny.
mean, that conversation between Faisal and I was in context of what we were watching Vaishak do the other day. If you remember, he came in as the impact sub towards the end of the match, and then he bowled those 2 overs. It goes to what you were talking about, Danny, about bowlers needing those new skills. All Vaishak did was bowl the wide line Yorkers well towards the tram line so that he took the leg side out of the equation, pretty much
Yes.
packed the outside field. And it looked almost like a football set piece, a guy coming in with just that one specific role, one specific thing. Does the cricket coach now increasingly have a role to play in tactics, strategy, on in-game strategy? I'm not talking about what you discussed during the, player meetings and stuff. But as cricket
Yes.
evolves, will the role of the coach become even more significant?
Oh, well, 100%. And I think you can see with different personalities of guys that are a little bit more animated than others, like a Ricky Ponting, be discussing stuff, or Nera, classic case there, getting up maybe even sideline,
Yep.
conveying the message to someone standing out there at long off or long on and just saying, look, take this back to the skipper, or even Prem, the captain, as we know, and if they like it, they'll be in that hot zone of those catches at long on and near the dugout anyway, and can talk to the coach in real time. I know, again, the example of the big American game of NFL, and they're all microphoned
Right.
up, their headsets on, and all of that. But to get back to your point, I think so, and that tactic working. We saw it in Amrabat um, the other night there, and so that was brilliantly executed where a player would come in as a super sub, and he might only come in for the last 5 overs, and he's got to be warm, he's got to be ready. We've said it for years on air. It's got to be a bit like American baseball, where you've got a bullpen where a guy can warm up, get his shoulder and his body right, and be ready to go to say, listen, you're our Yorker specialist. You're going to come on and bowl overs 17, 19, and 20. Okay, and you're going to come in and do that job and that role, and that was beautifully executed the other night of both those games you're talking about. So I see it evolving, and you do, and we keep going on about this in T20, that you really do have to think on your feet. You have to, because the game changes. A Maxwell comes in. Look how he got out the other night. He was out first ball. He was trying to reverse sweep, first ball, and was gone for a gold duck. Those sort of guys will come in and try and upset the apple cart, because that's what they do. And fair play to them. Try and play the 360 game. Um, to their detriment, they could be out like Maxi was the other night there in Ahmedabad, because the bowler gets it right. And so that's the other thing. Executing wide line Yorkers, and Amrabat going to give away a few wide, sure, but that asking rate, and then you get your next one right, and it's a dot ball, or he gets a Yorker length, digs it out, can't get a run, might have bowled 2 or 3 wides on the trot, and then there's only another dot ball, and so it's almost a game within a game, evolving with those death overs, those last sort of 18 balls, if you like, of a specialist guy that comes in, and the coach has got a set strategy that gentlemen could also then be flexible enough to say, look, it's a left-hander, it's Nicholas Poran. We know what he's trying to do. We might just have to go a little bit on this angle, or I want to bring someone else on and have a really good crack at him coming around the wicket to bowl in that as toe Yorkers sort of thing, right? And they'll talk about that till the cows come home with strategy and everything. So it is, you're quite right. I think the game gets broken down into those different parts, with specialists who come in and bowl in the mid overs, or the new ball bowlers who swing it in the first six and what have you. Everyone wants a wrist spinner, don't we? On a left arm, we want a left arm wrist spinner, or a right arm wrist spinner, or a left arm orthodox. That all of that stuff is fascinating to see in the layout of the team and what they produce at any given part of the contest.